What is the most disturbing fun fact you know? The vas deferens, the tubes that carry the sperm, looks and feels like cooked spaghetti. Wait, feels like cooked spaghetti? How the hell do you know this? I'm a nurse and I assisted a doctor that was performing a vasectomy. The doctor told me this, and I always thought that was kinda disturbing. I couldn't touch anything because I was not sterile. I could see that it looked like spaghetti, and I took his word that it felt like it too. Since August 20th, 2007, at least 20 detached human feet have been found on the coasts of the Salish Sea in British Columbia, Canada, and Washington State in the US. I heard about that. Did they find out why? Just a quick search shows that most appear to be suicides, though those belonging to juveniles are still uncertain. It happens because the shoes, and specifically sneakers, keep the foot from degrading and being eaten by local sea life like the rest of the body, eventually resulting in the foot coming loose from the now desiccated body and floating free to the surface thanks to the buoyancy of the shoe where it later washes ashore. Though, that doesn't account for those found in plastic garbage bags. The most obese person in the world was 610 kilograms at 20 years old. There's a species of lizards that shoots blood from their eyes. Why do you know this? How do you know this? It's the horned lizard. There's a thing called pit of despair where up until like the year 2000, I think, monkeys were put in for months. The contraption is basically a cylinder in which the monkeys could not escape and were left there for months. This was part of an experiment where they, the scientist, tried to understand depression and other mental illnesses better. Source. Also, sorry for possible grammar errors. I can understand English and read it, but my writing is not the best. There are more slaves in the world today than there were at the height of the Atlantic slave trade. Edit. Specifically, there are 40.3 million, or 1 in every 200 people, living under slavery worldwide. An abo mismatch during transfusion has a very high mortality rate and can be incredibly painful with a long list of symptoms. But what's interesting is one of the first symptoms can be a sense of impending doom. Impending doom approaches. Moon lords awakened. Corpses make noise because there is air still trapped in the body after death. It releases as the body is moved around, making the deceased sigh or moan. As an orderly in the emergency room, I was cleaning up a corpse that died in the emergency room along with a nursing student. The corpse let out a loud moan, and I lost 4 buttons off my shirt when she grabbed me. Wait, she is the nursing student, not the body. Haha, thank you for clearing this up. I was seriously confused. Dogs love squeaky toys because it emulates the cries of a small animal dying. Nice. The girl who voiced Ducky in Land Before Time was killed by her father, Judith Barcy. She was also in Mary and All Dogs Go to Heaven and the granddaughter of Chief Brody in Jaws: The Revenge. Her father shot her and her mother both before dumping gasoline over their bodies, lighting the house on fire, and then eventually shooting himself in the head. If a pregnant woman dies far along in her pregnancy, 8.5 or 9 months, the deceased fetus corpse will be pushed out of the mother at a fast speed due to the buildup of gases if they are left unattended for too long. I think this is known as coffin birth. I could be wrong. It is. That just sounds like a potato gun with extra steps. Teeth pop like popcorn during cremation. Wait, who's making popcorn? Now that's just grandpa. As recently as the 1980s, researchers and doctors believed babies couldn't feel pain, so lots were operated on without an anesthesia. It wasn't believed that babies couldn't feel pain. It was believed they wouldn't remember it as traumatic, which was eventually disproven. If a guy gets a pregnancy test and it's positive, it means they have testicular cancer. Only true with certain types of tests, but yes. Something to do with the hormone produced. Beta-HCG. It is the hormone most commonly tested for with pregnancy tests. It can be used to track fetal growth early on post-conception. Both seminoma and non-seminoma testicular cancers produce it. The thermonuclear hydrogen bomb has a temperature of 10 trillion degrees Fahrenheit at its center upon detonation. The Castle Bravo test was a major oopsie. They didn't bother to account for the lithium-7 that was in the bomb, since it wasn't supposed to fuse like the lithium-6 does. Their 6 megaton blast turned into a 15 megaton blast. The much larger cloud of radioactive debris irradiated Japanese fishermen on the Lucky Dragon No. 5 boat. I read that this event inspired the Godzilla movies. Coconut crabs could be the reason why we never found Amelia Earhart's body. Coconut crabs are ruthless scavengers. They pick the bones clean and drag the bones to their lairs. Amelia's body most likely washed up on an island inhabited by these crustaceans. Then they picked her apart piece by piece, leaving nothing left. The scariest part is that some of those crabs could still be alive. Some coconut crabs can live up to be 120 years old. Have fun trying to sleep tonight. Or she could have just landed in the ocean and been lost at sea. What are the chances they ran out of fuel near an island? This is the more realistic explanation, but people are romantic and fascinated by mystery. If she was lost for good, we'll probably never hear the end of these ridiculous conspiracy theories. Pederasty was a common practice in the ancient Greece between a master and his young apprentice. The Greeks believed that, in order to pass down knowledge, there was also a physical exchange needed. That's actually where the word platonic came from, I believe. Plato was big against pederasty and only had non-sexual relationships with his students. Hence platonic. They could have just high-fived each other instead for the physical exchange. Dahmer would try to make zombies out of his victims while they were alive by drilling holes in their heads and injecting the hole with acid. When he was asked if it ever worked, he said one did, but all he did was drool and groan, so he killed him. There is a species of frog, Trichobatrachus robustus, that is basically the Wolverine from X-Men. It's hairy as hell, and when threatened it breaks its own bones and forces them out of its toe pads to use as claws for defense. Your cat will eat you after you die, and there is no other food around. Well, so will people sometimes, if there's nothing else to eat. Can't blame my pet eating me if the other option is starvation. Dogs, however, will often go as long as they possibly can without eating you out of loyalty. Only works if your dog loved you while you were alive, which can't be said for everyone. Will probably get buried, but at Disney World / Disneyland, the workers sign a contract when they are playing a character, agreeing to never take off the costume when in public, even if there is an absolute emergency, to include if you were drowning. No way that's enforceable in court, lol. Somebody help Mickey. He's drowning. Donald, do something. Donald isn't allowed to talk. Sorry.